desperately wanted a distinct art style. I wanted someone to see a drawing and know it was me. For years, I was on the hunt for what my signature thing would be. But whenever anyone starts to create art, they technically automatically have their own style. The way the artist sees the world through their eyes, the way they hold their tools, even down to the mediums they choose to use, all of it, right from the start, makes up a unique style individual to them. But it doesn't always mean that it's the style they want. Many artists end up unhappy with their style at some point, and so they seek to find a new one that's cooler, prettier, smoother, darker. It doesn't matter. The process is the same. You go and you study art that you like, you try to find similarities between the pieces, then you try to implement those things into your own art. Sounds easy enough, but that isn't really all there is to finding a style. At least to me, because even if you do this, you're still going to have your own way of doing things outside of the things you've picked to add to your style. The way you see colors is a little different than other people. The shapes you notice when looking at something will be different from other people. Even if you pick out every little detail about how you want your art to be, there's still you. You can't just study someone else's work and suddenly be able to create the same art as them. The next time you sit down to draw, your drawing will probably be in a completely different style than the next drawing you make, because it's just not enough to study an artist's final pieces. When your favorite art was being made, the artist had an idea of what they wanted to portray on top of their own set of experiences through their own set of lenses shaped by those experiences. It's so hard to change your art style because you don't just have to change the final result, you have to change everything about the way you get to the result. You can change your style though. You can adapt it, modify it, and mold it into whatever you want. And this is mostly what people mean when they talk about finding an art style. When you're drawing, you're making tons of little decisions. How long a line is, whether it bends or not, its direction on the paper, its color, its thickness, and there's probably more. But that's just for one line. You remake all of those little decisions for each and every single line you draw. And so, if you want to change your art style, you have to change the way you fundamentally go about creating. You have to change your approach to the process a little by training your eyes to see things differently. For example, if you normally draw a face like this and you're unhappy with the style it's in, step 1 is to try to find references for a style you like more. Step 2 is to try to understand what they all have in common. With the style I'm going for, there's a very limited color palette, the medium used is usually ink, there's very high contrast, and only one midtone is used, if at all. Knowing this, you can then do step 3, which is to try to apply your findings to your drawing. But that might only work well for this one drawing. Your next one might look like it has a completely different style to it. To be able to consistently draw faces and other things in this new way, you need to train yourself to see in the same way your favorite artist did. If they were to see this reference, what shapes would they see? What was their thought process going into it? What materials would they choose? Going back to my example, I imagine that these artists approached these illustrations much like sculptures. They started off with a blank slab and then began literally carving out the shadows into this slab. Then, to top it off, a midtone was sometimes applied here or there for visual interest. So now, for every drawing I want to have this kind of style, I should approach it with the same kind of mindset. It doesn't matter what the subject of the piece is, the technique to create it is the same. And this is very difficult. It's hard to see the world from other people's point of view. It's hard to decide what someone else would have chosen for your piece to achieve a specific look. Studying helps you find common patterns and techniques that make some of those choices a little easier, but the rest is still up to you. You have to deliberately choose what to exaggerate or minimize to achieve a specific look. And the more you draw, the more you'll find out what you do and don't like in your art. Plus, your preferences will probably evolve, leading to future changes needing to be made. So, I really wouldn't get too caught up on deciding on a specific style that you must adhere to. The combinations of different styles will blend together over time to hopefully create a new, unique style that you love. And if at any point you find yourself unhappy with your style again, you can just change it. You can try something completely out of your realm. Who knows, you might end up really loving it. Or you could find more art out there that's similar with a few key differences. The choice is yours. There are tons of artists out there with all kinds of different styles currently sharing their work. Although it's hard, don't be afraid to try them out and change it up. I'm not trying to say that any one style is better or worse than another. Sometimes we just have different preferences in the style or the look that we want in our art. And so this is just how I go about it. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave me a comment. I love to reply to them. Thanks again so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.